Welcome to Viva and a Happy New Year for you. Today we take a look into what will take place in this year. But before we jump into that, we got to take a step back and understand what were the bigger movers of news for last year. That does give us a good indication of what's going to happen for this year. Here are the big 5 stories of last year. The fifth biggest story for last year, according to Astro.com, is of course Maria Ozawa. She made her inauguration trip actually, to Kuala Lumpur, sparking a lot of interest from particularly the male audiences. If you don't know Maria Ozawa, perhaps you can just Google her. The fourth biggest story of last year is regarding the religious school. Takif Amin, the student that was beaten to death, was dominating a lot of headlines around middle of last year. This has sparked a lot of debate on how the religious schools are taking care of students, and perhaps the debate will still continue on even further for this year, because it does relate to the third biggest news of last year, which is the fire at Darul Quran Ittifaqiyah, taking over 20 lives there. Remember, the conversation of fire and health safety guidelines are still ongoing. A lot of authorities are now arguing that perhaps a lot can be done and must be done by the communities of these religious schools or tahfiz. Perhaps we can also weigh in on the idea on how to make religious schools around our neighborhoods a lot safer. Use the hashtag Darul Ittifaqiyah for us to understand better this news. The second biggest stories, of course, happened very much towards the tail end of 2017. This is the most gory of all the murders that we have known in this country. It was captured on camera using a very shaky mobile phone. This murder happened at a petrol station in Johor Bahru. The cops are still hunting the perpetrators. The police have said that this is particularly with regard to the mafia or the black activities, but it still doesn't take away the fact that a person was very much brutally murdered right in front of everyone at a very public space. This begs the question of how safe is our roads, or how safe are our roads, and the question also begs on what can we do as a community to help the police to stop these murders. But the biggest story of 2017 also happened in December last year is indeed the General Assembly of UMNO. This is an extremely important news piece, particularly on Astro.com, because it outlines it lays the framework and the groundwork for what is to come for 2018. We now know that the election has to be held by June this year, and the Prime Minister as well as the government must hold the election by at least June this year, sparking two big time zones for the general election to take place. It's going to happen either in March or in June. But, of course, the caveat here is that a general election can be called at any time between now until June. That will be the biggest theme of news for this year. Let me know what you think about this episode. Before I end, I want to wish you all again a Happy New Year. Us folks at Astro AWANI wants to have you to have a very glorified, very fantastic year ahead of you. I'm Ibrahim Sani signing out for Viva, and welcome to 2018.